Yeah, g'day. Eric Smith here, registered surveyor. Just doing a little exercise today to demonstrate the shape and the form and the places to look for survey marks in the bush. What we've got here is some country that's really quite steep and very heavily timbered in pine. Good thing about pine trees, it doesn't tend to interfere with GPS. That's all I'm using today, just for the exercise. Normally doing boundary work I tend to localise, but this one I've got some marks from previous work I've done, so I've localised on that. I know where I'm going, so we'll go and see if we can find some marks. Okay, so this one was a bit of a gimme actually. Very obvious, you can see the blaze on the tree. It's a fallen reference tree, and obviously you can see the blaze, it hasn't grown over. It's quite clear in the shape of the tree where everything was. You can't actually see the numbers, just too many years have gone past, but still that's quite a clear blaze. So where would it have been when it stood up? So I'm guessing that tree, when it was standing, that blaze would have stood probably about here somewhere. So I'll take a measurement on that point. It'll certainly get me within probably 600mm, worst case. Could even be better. And from that I should be able to find some more marks. Alright, so our fallen tree's up there. Down in here, if you look very carefully, we have ourselves a nice old peg, surveyor's peg. You can see it's got square sides there. Centre of the peg would have been about there where my finger is. So that's a pretty good mark. There was no reference tree at this corner, so that peg is the point of truth for that corner. So we have to measure that to work out where the corner was, obviously. But these two marks that we found, the fallen tree and this peg, give us an excellent way to localise, although they're fairly short, but fairly good localisation to go and find some more marks. So our next corner is down there, about 150 odd metres. We'll go down and see if we can find anything. Alright, well the corner's supposed to be in the middle there, sort of in those bushy green bushes there. I had a look, there's nothing obvious. There's supposed to be an old reference tree in this area, but the plan from the 1800s showed it dead, and there's not even a sign of a stump hole there now. So we're now looking for a next corner which is sort of 220 metres up over that. So there's a good chance we might find a line mark or two, possibly some fence posts, or I don't know, I don't think it was ever fenced, but we'll soon find out. So yeah, I'm going to go climbing a cliff, and the next shot will either be me tumbling back down or I'll have found something. Right, well I've just been following a survey line up a very steep hill, and I got to this point and I was actually calculating using my equipment where I was in relation to that line. Came across this fallen tree which didn't really mean anything much until you look a bit closer, and there's wire, barbed wire, more barbed wire, and some nice tiger pear, lovely stuff. So in my estimation, while that may have been a tree, it was almost certainly on the line of the boundary and used as a fence post. So hopefully I can find a few more contributing factors and determine where this boundary used to run. Right, I'm about 50 metres up the hill from the last one, and here we have a fence post, still standing with wire in it. Pretty good indicator that this was the boundary. Alright, so that the last standing post I found was just down there, about 25 metres. Now, as I walked over this ridge, there's a nice clear line of rocks. So that would have been a line peg. Now I've poked around in there. The only place I can actually find any depth for the hole is where I've got that ranging pole standing. So that would be most likely where the peg would have been. It's about in the middle of the row of rocks. It is really quite obvious if you're looking for it. Very large line of rocks deliberately placed there. Most of them are quite large as well. So that's something that you don't see every day, and it's quite important when you're following a boundary line to keep your eyes open for that kind of thing. Right, so we're just down the hill from the last point, and this is where the corner should be, somewhere here. Now you can see a pile of rocks there. I think that was probably part of a lock spit. However, it's a little bit unclear. Normally on a corner they put the line of rocks in the lines of the two boundaries. This was only a single 90-degree corner, so it should have a line coming down the hill and a line going out to our right. Now there's nothing distinct there, so the actual corner is a little bit tough to figure out from what's on the ground. So there was supposed to be a reference tree for this corner. Of course, this plan being over 100 years old, I really don't know if it's going to be here. It's probably up in that area somewhere, or was. So that'll probably be our next step. So I'll just get a measurement on this pile of rocks, which will at least confirm my line over the hill, and look for the reference tree, and then we might follow that line in that direction. Happens to be south. See if we can find a mark. So let's go looking for this tree. Right, so now we're looking for this tree. My calculations put it about where that stump is, and you can see there's been new suckers grow up with these gum trees here. So I think, because there's no way there would have been another sizable tree within probably at least a 2 metre radius of this one, I think it's pretty safe to say that that stump hole is going to be the remains of the old reference tree. So while we didn't find the exact corner, I'd be fairly confident between the tree stump hole here and the line of rocks at the other end that we can make it all fit pretty well. So we'll get a measurement on this. Righto, so our reference corner, sorry, the actual corner we found was way back there. Now, something you have to look for on a boundary line, the old surveyors used to blaze trees that were directly on line. They'd put a blaze on each side. So I've been walking along using the instrument to tell me where the line was, and I've found a tree which, as you can see, has a blaze on the two faces that face up with that line up with the boundary. So there's a very good chance that is actually a line tree. They're actually reasonably rare, you don't see them very often. Just happens that this particular piece of ground has not been disturbed by humans all that much. So there you go, a line tree. Right, well I guess the conclusion of this is that if you keep your eyes open, if you pay attention to detail, if you understand the plans that you're working with, if you know what to look for, there's a very good chance of finding old marks. Now, just because a plan's 100 years plus old doesn't mean there's no marks there. So just keep your eyes open, and yeah, you'll have a very good chance of finding your marks and getting your job done.